Can I please welcome to the stage Kellie Lavender, Richie Hardcore, and Jo Robertson. All right, welcome. Welcome to our expert panel. I am thrilled to introduce our next round of wonderful panelists tonight. First up, on my right in her lovely orange jacket, we have Jo Robertson. Jo is one half of online harm advocacy group Make Sense Aotearoa. The other half is Holly, who is here tonight. She's also a sex therapist with a Master of Science in Medicine, specialising in sexuality, relationships, and the cultural influences shaping sexual norms. Her dissertation focused on online sexual content and its impacts on adolescents, and she has over 15 years' experience in health, education, and counselling. She's also founder of Tricky Chat's parenting course, which two of you have won tonight, which is very exciting. So thank you for being here tonight, Jo. Round of applause. Thank you.
Gosh. This chair is very difficult to sit straight in.
It's such a deep chair.
I know,
It's
and I
really
feel like
rough.
Robert's watching me as well,
I
so I don't know
know,
whether
my
to go back
gosh.
or go forward. We also have Richie Hardcore. Richie is an educator and public speaker focusing on exploring masculinity, ending rape culture, sexual and family violence. He also speaks passionately about mental health and wellness, and as a former alcohol and drug harm reduction community worker, on how we can address AOD issues in our society, which I have since found out is alcohol and other drugs. I had to ask him about that. Richie has a master's degree in sociology, and his thesis looked at masculinity and hip-hop. He's also the father of two boys. Welcome, Richie. And last but certainly not least, we have Kellie Lavender. Kellie has worked in the field of eating disorders for over 20 years with individuals of all ages presenting with almost the entire range of issues around disordered eating behaviour. She brings a wealth of experience and knowledge into her practice, as well as the humble understanding about how devastating these disorders can be for individuals and families. And over the past 10 years, Kellie has specialised further in working with adolescents and young adults suffering from anorexia nervosa. So welcome, Kellie. Thank you for being here. Okay, let's start with you, Jo. I'm sure a lot of parents will be sitting here wanting to know the answer to this question, the age-old pressing question. What on earth do we say when our child comes to us wanting a phone or a device or whatever it may be, and apparently they're the only kid on planet Earth that doesn't have it?
Yeah, cool. I just before we go there, hands up in the room, who's already past that point? So the kid already has a phone, they're already in device land, maybe like 30, 40%, yeah. So I guess this question doesn't really target you guys, and I want you to know that you're not left behind in this conversation. You know, if you've made that decision, we still really want to do everything we can for your young person, and there are strategies you can use that will be highly effective at keeping them safe. I know, it's a lot. It's like, I want to cross my legs and I can't.
He's committing to the cross
That's what I want to do. This is sexism right here, because you're able to do that. It's more appropriate. It's less funny. I know, but it's cultural. So what you could do if your young person is coming to you who's asking for a phone, desperate, I mean, have they kept a drink bottle for a year? Like, I'm pretty practical when it comes to my kids when they ask this question. I'm like, I got 3 boys as well, and I just am like, okay, so when was the last time you lost a jumper? And they'll typically say last week, and I'm like, cool, so you want me to give you something that costs $1,000 when you can't keep your school jumper? Like, so I use really practical responses. They obviously don't super love that, but it also stops the conversation pretty quick. I'm a big fan of bribery. So if you need to throw them anything to delay, I'm honestly into it. I think we want to give them some wins. If they have a feeling of, I'm going to miss out for the next 2-3 years of my life, then maybe you want to pay for the cool thing that they want to do. We're currently in negotiations with our nearly 13-year-old. I've said I'll offer him a fair chunk of money to not get a smartphone till he's 17, and he's weighing that up. And
It is refreshing on a panel, just pure cash.
just cash. Seriously, I've got another colleague of mine, she paid for her daughter to get eyelashes for 6 years to keep her off social media. It's good stuff. Like, use whatever you've got. But otherwise, aside from the bribery and the drink bottle strategy, you kind of just have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, which is saying no and feeling their feelings as a result. I think we've got a lot of passive parenting, to be honest, where we're afraid of our kids' discomfort, we're afraid of their pain, and we want to do whatever we can to rescue them from it. That's actually not our job, and that's not what's going to create great adults. Rescuing is not the strategy, resilience is. And they get that by experiencing some frustration, and this is an area where they're going to feel it, but for the best possible reason.
I love that. Totally agree. Yeah. Snaps. I totally agree with that. And then for the audience members who have older kids, what about those ones who feel like they gave a device to their older children too early? Because, I mean, God, we just didn't know. And what do they do about the younger ones who want things to be fair? Like, what if there's another child coming up in the ranks that is then upset that the goalposts have shifted?
Yeah, totally. So we initially, I can't remember, my oldest was probably like 8 and he started asking for a phone. You know, they ask when they're young just because they think that's going to make them grown up. And I said, when you turn 13. But that felt so far away when he was 8. And like now that he's nearly there, I'm like, that was the dumbest thing to do. Don't lock yourself into anything. Like it's a parenting strategy that we think is going to work for us and it really doesn't, is giving them some kind of milestone to work towards. So straight off the bat, you should not be locked into certain like phases or, high school, 13, intermediate, that kind of stuff. My approach, and this is what I tell the boys, is I'm going to always move with the research. So I literally say that, and I'll share with them the research. So I'm going to use facts, not feelings, to determine my parenting of you.
Let's go.
And so I told them recently about the latest data around executive functioning and screen time's impact of that. And, that's not fun for them. It means that they don't watch as much screen time as they would like, but I'm going to lean on data. And I think I'm also then communicating something really strong to them, which is that we learn to make decisions. Like, we're going to prioritize research, evidence, and learning to know what's best for us, not just what feels good in the moment. So that's what I would say is, hey, we've got a lot of research now that we didn't have when your older sibling was X age, and that's what we're going to let guide our choices.
That's great. That's really good. So we now have an understanding of how problematic devices can be for a myriad of different reasons, but let's focus on content for a minute. Kellie, you work with both adults and young people battling anorexia and bulimia nervosa, binge eating disorder, and everything in between. Can you tell me if there's any research around the influence of social media on body image? Oh, there's a little thing you got to flick up.
This feels like a leading question.
There is. I'll just grab my glasses here. Unfortunately, as Dr. Mashuk kind of started at the beginning, the vulnerable time is adolescence for lots of different reasons: social changes, cognitive changes, including body changes, in terms of that kind of turn of adolescent social comparison. We've all been through it. Unfortunately, New Zealand is very lacking in data itself, but we know from Australia the increase in eating disorders and disordered eating between 2012 and 2024 is outrageously huge. So I'll just tell you what that is. So 76% increase was observed in 15 to 19-year-olds, a 200% increase in 10 to 14-year-olds, And for the first time, 5 to 9-year-olds were represented in the data. So we know that eating disorders are complex, and it's not social media causing an eating disorder, but it certainly sends messages about how you should look, what's right, inspiration, dieting, all of these beauty kind of messages. It's quite sinister. And we also know the algorithms are quite sinister as well. So for people who are vulnerable and already into that, do I need to lose weight to feel better for myself? The algorithm is something like 3,000% higher for people with those vulnerabilities to healthy controls. So it's actually a huge problem.
It is indeed a big problem. What about the warning signs of an eating disorder in your child? What should parents be looking out for as red flags?
So I think what's really important for parents to know generally is that what can start to look like a teenager looking like, oh my goodness, my teen's starting to show an interest in healthy food. My teen's starting to exercise a bit more. This is great. After seeing kind of maybe that kind of can't get them out of the bedroom or the other kind of programs that we have with teens. But actually it can be something that can turn into something sinister quite quickly. I couldn't list them all off, so that's why I've done a slide here. So, and in particular, the new trend, of course, is around young men and the obsessiveness around going to the gym and muscularity in terms of kind of use of protein, steroids, peptides, creatinine, like all of these things that get sometimes framed up as health can become quite sinister quite quickly. So, yes, these are warning signs, including things around their thoughts, around complaining about, I'm not happy with myself, I'm fat, I'm ugly, lots of body checking, I want to lose some weight. It's actually highly abnormal for a developing child or adolescent to lose weight. So this is a normal growth and development, so any weight loss during this period of time should be deemed a warning sign. There's also some really important act now things. So could you two go to the next slide?
I'll just stay here.
I'll just remain seated.
Oh, look at that. Here it is. No. Yeah.
Yeah, good?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. So these are more act now. So please don't see it as a phase. This is not a phase. These are warning signs. So yeah, fasting, skipping meals, obvious weight loss, refusing to eat with you as a family, 2 skip menses with weight loss for girls, any binge episode, any purge episode that is not normal, excessive exercise as well, refusing to allow others to prepare food for them. If I had my daughter when she was a teenager, I could not get her in the kitchen to literally do anything. So if your teen is saying, I want to make all my own food, thank you very much, there's a problem. So those are the act now.
Next slide.
That'll be fine. I think that's probably enough.
Next one.
Yep. No, that's done.
Okay, and so then when or if a parent has recognised these signs in their child, then how do they talk to them about that? What do they do?
Oh, that's good. Well, let's just stay with this slide.
I got you.
So, yeah, don't feel like you're walking on eggshells. You cannot make it worse by having an honest conversation with your child. And so be direct, but obviously non-confrontational, non-judgmental. There could be feelings of shame or anxiety, and so please come with a firm but loving, compassionate questioning. They could be also in denial, so expect, to be fobbed off and pushed away, but that doesn't mean that you stop. So it means persistence if you continue to see these things. Please roll with resistance. You don't have to fight about it. You can continually kind of point out your concerns and say, look, hey, I'm worried. So don't give up on that. And so encourage and support, but don't collude. Don't say it's okay to go to the gym 7 times a week when you're worried about them losing weight at the same time. And try not to negotiate or get into negotiations about things, unlike maybe some other kind of strategies. And really, early intervention is incredibly important. So go to the GP, reach out to kind of some agencies such as EDANS or Eating Disorder Carer Support, and just bounce your concerns off someone else. That would be my advice.
Thanks, Kellie. That's very helpful. And Richie, I'm going to need you to sit back down because I have a question for you. So I want to bring you in here because you work with so many boys and young men, and Kellie just touched on some of the issues that we're dealing with at the moment. But why are boys in general going online? What is it that they're looking for in particular?
Yeah, firstly, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And just quickly, I talk about like gender and masculinity a lot, and a quick scan of the room, it's probably about 80% mums, 20% dads here. Isn't that interesting?
I reckon it's a 90-10.
90-10?
Yeah, could be a 99-1.
I'm trying to be generous. But it is really fascinating to me to see that, right? Like parenting should be like genderless. You should both do it. So shout out, I do want to acknowledge all the dads who broke out of your gender norm to come here.
But also, I just have to acknowledge if the mums are here, then who's home with the kids?
Well,
Yeah,
I hear you. But point is, why do boys go online looking for this information? Well, we've had a decline in community, right? Like the most mature 18-year-old in the world was talking about...
I vote for him as Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Arden, it's you.
He was talking quite correctly about the fact that what's supported him is his sporting community, his mentoring community. These things have declined for a range of reasons for the last 40 years. So economically and politically, we've got particular things that have meant that we all work longer hours. We require 2-parent incomes to survive, most of us. These things mean that the advice that historically fathers, uncles, friends, would give to boys just isn't on hand. We have a high amount of fatherless homes as well. And boys are looking for the answers that no one is giving them. I spoke at a school a couple of days ago, and a young man came up to me. He said his father died when he was 8, and he didn't have any men in his life. He was raised in a single mother household. He didn't have uncles or a grandfather on hand, so he found himself looking at Andrew Tate content, And Andrew Tate is obviously passé, but he is sort of like the godfather of what we call the manosphere, an interconnected network of blogs, influencers, podcasts that promote a very anti-female, anti-feminist, hyper-masculinist idea of what it means to be a man, which is very limited, and that we know actually hurts boys and men. So boys go looking for answers. They're looking for really normal things, like how do I kiss a girl, or how do I ask a girl out, or how do I get fit, or how do I study better for my exams, or how do I make a bit of money? And then the algorithm often drives the most extreme content towards them, right? Like if you speak in a very relaxed, calm, nuanced, objective way, you're not going to get pushed into young people's algorithms. Whereas if you put the most hyperbolic, pro-violent, anti-woman content out there, you are. So there's a real design flaw there. But we know that the people who own these companies, it's not a flaw for them, right? They don't care that you're depressed and scrolling, they just care that you're scrolling. And so unfortunately, as one of our other youth panelists said, young men are getting driven towards quite radical ideas. At the worst end of it is violent extremism, which leads to terrorism. And at the worst end of it is at a perhaps a more day-to-day level, are quite unhelpful narratives which, internalized over time, do lead towards the sorts of ideas around manhood that contribute to our exponentially high rates of male suicide, that lead to our exponentially high rates of male and female violence. We have the highest rate of domestic violence in the Western world, in the OECD, high rates of sexual violence, and also loneliness and depression and substance abuse. So we need to help give our boys offline examples and offline answers for really normal teenage questions. And unfortunately, we're not doing that. So it doesn't mean it's insurmountable. We can entirely do it. We just need political and community will.
It's so true. And that's such a good point about algorithms, because these extreme views represent such a small percentage of the population, but because they are pushed out so incessantly by these platforms, then now they are becoming more normalized, which I do want to talk about the manosphere, but it's hard to know whether it's being augmented by parents who aren't actually consumers of this stuff. Like, I saw a 60 Minutes episode on it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. But, I don't know whether that's being blown out of proportion and if young people aren't actually consuming that as much. So my first question is, are they? And my second question is, how do we as parents try and keep our kids safe from it?
Okay, quick plug. If you have money and would like to fund research, I've spoken to 2 different researchers, one in America, one in Christchurch, who would love to work with me conducting actual qualitative and quantitative data about what young men are looking at online, because we don't have good New Zealand-specific data. So if you want to fund us, holler at your boy. Yeah, so I draw a lot of my public speaking work from international data or Australian data, and Movember tells us that who do have money, and that manospheric content has gone mainstream. So the perhaps more extreme voices like Andrew Tate, or everyone's talking about clavicular right now, I don't think a lot of boys, my sense of it, actually go out looking for this stuff, but the ideas that those guys put out into the online ecosystem does filter through to your regular sort of gym advised personal trainer, right? So it might not be explicitly ideological or anti-feminist, but the outcome is sort of the same. So you see it in youth parlance. Do you guys say, like, I talk like I'm 17 a lot of the time. You've got my grown-up inside voice, but do you see triple Xing? Like, I'm mental health maxing, or I'm relaxing. Do you guys do this? Yeah, what's up, homegirl? My girl down the front knows what's up. Like, any of the adults in the room know what I'm talking about? Right? But so we see the filter of the language, like the semantic lexicon shift, right? So that, I think, is indicative that at least some of these ideas are cross-pollinating, you know what I'm saying? So if, like, we use the language and the jargon even for humor, I think it's a good example that actually the ideas sort of do filter through. Does that make sense? I asked a few hundred boys the other day, like, do any of you take clavicular seriously? And they don't. Like, I think very, very few boys are smashing their face with a hammer, and I think the New York Times and Vanity Fair and 60 Minutes talking about these things do it because it is, if it bleeds, it leads, right? Like, it's outrageous, and we're, like, fascinated by this crazy subculture, but it's a little bit unhelpful because it then takes those concepts into the mainstream, right? So there's a bit of a moral panic around it, but it comes back to the same thing, right? Like, you were talking about, like, youth insecurity leading to, like, eating disorder content. I know boys who use steroids in order to look a particular way because they have been acculturated largely through social media influence to think that being masculine is fitting a particular, body image, the way that girls have always had that pressure, right? So they're using, steroids and other performance-enhancing substances to fit that. And, the story of clavicular, I think, is overblown, but is the extreme example of how that can look, right? That said, like, boys do consume a lot of really damaging content, irrespective if it's not manospheric. Like, a lot of, like, street violence. Like, I work across, like, a socioeconomic spectrum of boys, right? And particularly our boys who are economically and socially disadvantaged and maybe gang-associated or gang-affiliated. You can get a lot of clout and off like smashing someone up and putting it on your TikTok, right? And I'm sure you've all seen like viral street fights, yeah? Like
Their algorithm's real different to yours.
Mine is crafts.
Yeah. There's a lot of renovation. There's a lot of gardening.
You've never seen a 3-on-1 street fight? What?
Just in our feeds.
Okay, speaking more professionally then, a couple of years ago, someone sent me a video of a boy getting pretty badly beaten up on the way home from school, right? And I shared it looking for the identifying features of the offenders to pass on to the police. And it became a viral video, made it to the New Zealand Herald. So many parents and other young people sent me very similar content, right? Because the clout chasing is a driver of the violence. Does that make sense? You can build an online audience and get all the validation that comes with that for physically harming someone. And that's not specifically boys, because girls do this too, but our boys do that, right? Social media is a gang marketing and a gang platform tool as well. I think these are things that often don't make it to you guys who crochet or whatever, right? So
We live in a happier world.
you live in a world. But
Yeah.
no, but like I do. This is perhaps divorcing me reality, but we do need to think across our society, right? There are different sorts of harms, like when we think about and they are different across socioeconomic thresholds, right? So I do work with kids who have been shot or stabbed, and they're like 14, 15, or 16, right? And again, there's a normalizing factor that online platforms provide our most at-risk youth around like carrying weapons and things like this. And how do we give kids alternatives to that? Does that answer your question?
Yes, it definitely does. But I have another question, and this is something that I grapple with, because we have boundaries around devices in our own home, but my son is going to get to an age where he's going to get on the school bus, or he's going to go to friends' houses that I have no idea what their boundaries are around devices. So, Jo, I've heard you talk about this before, and I know you have really good advice. How do we deal with the lack of control when our kids are somewhere else and they could be exposed to something horrible?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's our reality, right? It's developmentally appropriate for them to not be under our control. It would be a problem if going through their adolescence, we maintain the same level of control over them that we had when they were 8. I want to just pick up something that Richie mentioned. So he talked about, the kind of political, kind of the capitalist society, meaning that two parents have to work, etc. We actually have modern dads spending significantly more time with their young people than ever before in history. So it's not the lack of presence, it's the lack of conversation. So you also touched on this, Kellie, which I thought was awesome, not being afraid of the conversation, bringing it up and not being ashamed of that, or like walking on eggshells. And the exact same thing needs to occur with every other type of harm we know they'll experience online. So just our presence isn't actually enough. We need to have explicit conversations with them about porn, about grooming, about violence and clout, like chasing clout for that, about the FOMO, the loneliness, the depression, the anxiety. Like, we have to actually say the things, and that's part of when we release control of them and they start to go to people's houses that we maybe don't like. right? Like they do. They go to these parties or they go and hang out with people, and that's not maybe our pick for them, but they're 14 and it's not appropriate for us to be choosing every single place they go anymore. So we have to have conversations. I am a believer in reaching out as much as possible to those families, not just because it, will protect my own kid more if I have a conversation with them about devices and harm, but also because we don't know what we don't know. And maybe it'll be the first time that parent has had somebody else say to them, hey, is it okay if, they don't game or they're not on phones or whatever it is. It might be the first time they've thought about that. And so I use it kind of as a little strategy of, I guess, community learning there too. But we currently have quite strict rules around going to friends' houses in terms of they can't just turn up to anyone's house without talking to us first, even though they spend a lot of time roaming the neighbourhood. So of course they could be lying to us, like 100%. I was lying a lot when I was growing up. There was a lot of lying. But I'm just thinking about the drinking and all the things. So I was not having street fights, though. Other people were. But we have really strict rules, so they go to friends' houses, they're not on devices there. So I will call those families or I will talk ahead of time and say, hey, playdates are non-device time for us. And if that family is like, oh, nah, we're not doing that, then they're not going there. Like, that's... maybe that's uncomfortable for those families, but I'm not actually here for them. Like, they're not my priority. Making other adults comfortable is not my priority, as you can pick up. But yeah. But keeping my own kids safe and well is. So they are my primary responsibility, and therefore I'll have any amount of uncomfortable conversations to keep them safe. But we are also having really explicit conversations about the content they'll see. So we talk about porn when they turn 10. That's our thing, because the average age that they see it is 12, and that's 50% of our kids seeing porn before they're 12. So we're gonna talk about it when they're 10. As soon as they're on, they don't game, there's no gaming in our house, but we talk about grooming and how that can occur in other people's homes and how to identify it with maybe if it's happening to a friend. We talk about sexual harm, sexual violence, we talk about the manosphere. We're having all of these conversations at probably much earlier ages than other people are, because I just know they're gonna see it. Like, it's not if, it's when, and it's going to be earlier than all of us imagine. So I'd much rather hear about it from me first, and I can give them some critical thinking.
I think, can I add to that? As a father,
no, I was really good all by itself.
I think it's also just about like finding teachable moments and little and often. So like with my eldest son, even my youngest son, when I'm talking to parents, it's like you don't need to sit down and stare in your son's eye and be like, want to talk about porno? Because they don't. But when you're watching, I don't know, like a TV show together or listening to music together, because I think it's important to listen to whatever your kids are listening to, even though it's a real punish. You actually get to see what their world is, you know what I'm saying, and what they're exposed to. Oh, what does that mean? Or why do you like this? Or blah, 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 you know what I mean? So it's like just paying attention to the world that your kids are navigating and then exploring those ideas through Socratic questioning rather than a big lecture. Because kids don't necessarily want you to tell them off. They want to know that you're a safe space to take things to them. And if they're fearful that they're going to lose some sort of privilege or you're going to punish them for very normal questions, then that's slowly going to erode that trust and that ability to be a counterforce to the shitty world that we built for them to navigate.
I really like, just to say one thing, I really like the idea of bringing up these conversations. Don't assume your kid hasn't been exposed to this, because I can guarantee you, if they're on social media, they have. And so being able to bring up these conversations and make them just part of I saw this on the radio the other day, and what about this? And is this something that you've been exposed to? Or like, I live a little bit out of the city where I work, and it was basically a 40-minute drive with my daughter, and this was the best time when we were in the car where we would kind of talk about these things and bring them up, and it wasn't in a judgmental way at all, or it just opened up those conversations. And every time I would say to her, oh, has that ever been a thing? Like, have you guys talked about that or seen that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mum, you're out of the loop. You had that 2 years ago. So, yeah, just keep those conversations open.
Yeah, so true. Lucy from the Youth Advisory Group had a really good point earlier, actually, because I said, I think there's actually some younger kids coming along tonight. And so I was having a quick look through just and thinking, I think it's all appropriate. And then she said, well, better that they're going to hear it here in a safe space than some random person in the playground, which will 100% happen. And I thought that is a very good point. So thank you very much to our incredible panelists tonight, Kellie Lavender, Richie Hardcore, and Jo Robertson. And I also want to thank you all for coming along tonight. I know it's rainy and cold and wintry, and I want to say thank you, because some of the biggest impact we can have is in our own homes. So I hope that you're all feeling empowered and you learnt something from one of the incredible speakers we've had tonight. And just to finish off, we're now going to share with you a first look of a brand new docuseries from Overactive Imagination. It's called Under the Influence, and it debuts next week on the New Zealand Herald. So this is hot off the press, people. And as part of the series, they took actual dialogue from the social media algorithm of a 13-year-old girl's Instagram and TikTok and put it in a real-world context. And it really exposes the harm being driven to our young people by algorithms. I mean, would you want your kids to hang out in this park?
If you're 12 and you really want to lose weight, focus on eating more fruits and vegetables.
It's not the carbs, it's the overeating.
Daily habits that make you ugly. Crossing legs, hunchback, chin resting.
You can always be thinner. But attractive people know that you don't.
Things you think are normal but are actually signs of high-functioning anxiety.
Don't forget number 6.
When I grow up, I'ma be a supermodel.
Want a perfect nose?
I'm 15. I like anime and animals. I can do dirty talk sometimes. I will care for you so much.
I'm 15. I like anime and animals. I can do dirty talk sometimes. I will care for you so much.
New developments in the alleged murder of a Gold Coast schoolgirl.
With police reviewing a haunting video posted by the mother.
Well, I tried to kill myself when I was 14. I didn't want to live.
It's 2 names. Look them up on social media. They were normal teenagers and now they're gone.
I didn't want to live.
Want a perfect
I will care for you so much.
They were normal teenagers and now they're gone.
Yeah, she's just at the park. Yep, couple more emails, then I'm done.
Well, I tried to kill myself when I was 14. I didn't want to live. Social media, it's just this chaos of desire.
Constantly comparing yourself, and it's so hard not to when it's just there and you see it all the time.
You definitely get hooked onto the other things that come with it, you know, the influences, the culture, the hardness of it.
And it's a little bit of trauma Olympics. You'll be pushed into algorithms that will make you compete to prove that your pain is valid.
If something is wrong, if your kid is in a vulnerable state, that spiral starts.
It took her insecurities and said, we're going to manipulate and amplify every insecurity that you have around yourself.
How can this be so effective in promoting something to me, but then things that we show not interested in, it's suddenly very useless and it doesn't make any difference?
We can do it. We can turn this ship around.
And I took the phone and I lobbed it across the room.
It's changed the conversations that are happening in our school.
Keep talking about it until you find someone who will listen.
So that's launching next week. And then we have one more video from the legends at Kids Unplugged of Jack. We'll leave you with that.
On my phone, I rarely ever get below 80% battery. If anything, I'm on my phone to record things, take photos, and cool people.
I love that he's gone from being a screen addict to being a purposeful activist.
Purpose to me is what's your goal in life. It's what is behind everything. I hear all these things, but what am I really doing it for? I'm doing it to change people. I'd say change the world, but that will be in a few years from now. I just want to make a difference. There's a lot of people here, holy. Things like Greta Thunberg going to the United Nations meeting and giving that speech, I want to do stuff like that.
I stand here today as a rangatahi Māori who believes in the power of our voices and the strength of our communities. Because I want Aotearoa to listen. I want our leaders to hear the call for Māori words and to understand why they matter to us, the next generation. Change takes time, but it starts with action. I'm taking action. You can take action too. And to my fellow rangatahi, don't wait for someone else to make change. Stand up, speak out, and ride your own journey, whatever that looks like.